All right. Good afternoon, at least where I'm sitting right now, to all you watching. Thank you for joining the Jimmy O Show once again. We are here to present episode three. Really excited about episode three. We have an in depth visit with Nick Anderson. Nick is extraordinary in every way. I just really enjoyed the opportunity to get to know him better. He's a very thoughtful young man, and obviously a good football player. But he's just a joy to speak to and communicate with. And I think you'll get that impression as well. I think you'll be excited to know him. Otherwise, as far as the Jimmy O Show goes, we're excited about this launch and where it's been headed. Lots of activity in the NIL space. You will be getting details from us in the future about some of the NIL endeavors we're involved in. Ultimately, we're really looking forward to rewarding these Tulane athletes for their hard work and to let them cash in on their name, image, and likeness. They do so much for our university. They're great ambassadors of our university, and the rules allow them to make money for that. And we would like to facilitate that as much as we can. And as I've said in the social media spaces, this show is only a small part of everything that's going on there. One correction I want to make really quickly, and in during the interview, you'll hear me talking with Nick about his favorite food, which is pecan pie. And I feel like I sold my friend and host and producer Bradley Schneller a little short because I probably intimated in there that he would tell you not to have pecan pie. What I can tell you, if you're a stack coaching client, and he's not paying me to say this, but I feel like I owe it to him, he'd tell you you can eat the pecan pie, but you need to plan for it and you need to count it and work around it. That's what he would say. And so I don't want to give anybody out there who might be interested in the services he offers to get the wrong impression. That's basically what I intimated is probably 180 degrees opposite of what he would say. So I lost some sleep over that, Bradley. I didn't tell you that, but I felt bad for the way that came out. So I wanted to make that correction. Folks, other than that, with that said, I will now turn it over to yesterday's interview with Nick Anderson. I hope you enjoy it. Please let us know in the comments if you have any ideas for future shows. We're looking to evolve, and we would love your feedback on how this goes. We will be primarily focused on the current student athletes, but if you want to hear from other types of guests, I'm all ears and interested in how you think we can make this show better. Thank you very much, and thanks for tuning in. Roll wave.
All right, welcome, folks, to the next interview segment of the Jimmy O Show. I am pleased to be joined with Nick Anderson, outstanding linebacker at Tulane. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me.
I'm very happy to have you, man. When I put this whole thing together, you were kind of guy I had high on my list of guys I wanted, and so you're here on episode two. You and Tajay went one offense, one defense. Truth be told, I am biased to offensive guys, but definitely my favorite defensive guy to watch. Nick, in my mind, you're the heart of the Tulane defense. You play full speed all the time. Play with great anticipation, great awareness and intelligence on the field, and when you tackle somebody, they go down. Other than you were telling me there was one against Oklahoma, you missed a tackle in the backfield. I do remember that when you brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, this just one of those things that I just pride myself on as far as being a linebacker. It's just my tackling ability, just being able to get guys on the ground. A lot of times, I defer from going for the big hit to just making a tackle, and this is one of the things that I've grown in as being a college football player, and it's just something I pride myself in.
Yeah, and if you look up a Nick Anderson highlight tape, there are a number of big hits on special teams. Do you still running out covering punts?
Most definitely, Coach Fritz is not going to let you get off special teams. But yeah. I'm grateful for that because it's just one of those things that the NFL scouts look at is just can he block somebody on kickoff return or punt return, or be able to make an open field tackle on punt or kickoff, and so it's just one of those things that I'm glad I have in my toolbox.
Awesome, yeah. No, it's an impressive tape. The other, big thing you see when you watch you play, Nick, it's like you can count on it. There's going to be a tackle for loss. There's going to be in a big situation. There's going to be you're going to blow up a quarterback or a running back behind the line of scrimmage because you saw it was coming probably before you even the offensive lineman knew what was coming. Like, you saw the play, hit it, and so we'll get into all that. But I want to take a step back. I want to go all the way back.
Okay.
You're a native of Vicksburg, Mississippi, right?
Yes, sir, Vicksburg.
All right. Well, Nick, tell us a little bit about growing up in Vicksburg. Maybe let's start with your family. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Just overall, it's me, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom, and my 3 younger siblings. Little Steven, my younger brother, he's a freshman in high school.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be on the varsity team next year, so I'm just trying to help him, get prepared for that. You have my baby sister Addison, one of the loves of my life, my heart and joy. She will turn 14 in July. And then you have my baby brother Aiden Flags, and he will be he turned 11 months actually today. So he'll be a year old a month from now. So Just love my family.
You got him some good Tulane swag for Christmas or anything?
Most definitely. Got him a onesie with number 1 on the back, and I think he loved it.
Awesome. Now I know Addison was in a bad car wreck.
Yeah, definitely.
How's she doing?
She's doing great. To be able to be home for Christmas and just see how just God worked a miracle through that. To see that her hair is full and healthy. Just her running around playing, being on Snapchat, Instagram, talking to me about how college been. It almost scares me in a way, because to just know how that incident was, and to see how she hasn't missed a beat. It's just a true testament to God and everybody that sent a prayer up, and I'm just very thankful to have my sister.
Yeah, man. Look, and for people that don't know, what we're talking about was right before the Oklahoma game.
Yes, sir.
You got news that week that Addison, your baby sister, was in a very serious car accident.
Most definitely, and it's just one of those things to where we were having to be in Birmingham, so I couldn't just drive to Vicksburg. They had just sent the shuttles to New Orleans to get some of our stuff and get it back to us. So there really wasn't a way that I could get to her. That's just one of the things that I told myself. I'm like, if God is not, having me get to the hospital, then I know she's gonna be okay. And that's one thing my granddaddy told me. He said, we got it here. You just handle your business, and for the team. And that's just one of the things that made that Oklahoma game, even more special. To just know that I'm playing for a bigger purpose other than just trying to get the win for my guys. Yeah,
and you had a great game despite all the hard things you had to deal with off the field. Now, you mentioned your granddad a few times. He's now a third-term mayor of Vicksburg?
Yes, sir. Yes, this will be the third term.
Now, I read an article where he said after his elected the second time, that was going to be his last term.
He's just one of those guys to where he always on his feet, always working. Me being his grandson and wanting to spend some time with him, I'm hopeful that this is his last term, but I think he's going to go until he can't go anymore. That's just one of the things that, just about him. He's a diligent, hard worker. He goes after what he wants, and, just happy for him, happy for all his success. Just happy to be his grandson. Yeah,
and he's a really, and doing my research on you and your family, I mean, you just can't help but be impressed by everything he's accomplished. In a state like Mississippi, to have had the sort of popularity and results he has had is really impressive. I mean, he wins these elections pretty easily,
right,
in a pretty big town, and he's met with presidents on both sides of the political equation and has gotten their audience. He's won awards from just about every group there can be. There's a few NAACP awards in there, along with other leadership type of awards. I mean, really impressive man. Is he one of the biggest influences in your life?
Most definitely. My granddad has basically been my father, raising me since I was a kid, and just being able to instill in me to make the right decisions, to be a great guy on the field and off the field. He texts me every morning. Every morning he's gonna text me good morning and a word of the day or a quote of the day, and he's been doing that since I had a phone. And just try to instill in me, one of his biggest quotes is keep the faith and focus, and keep the faith in God and keep your focus on what you got to do. And this is one of the things that I just watching him, despite what happens, he keeps going, he keeps pushing forward, and that's one of the things that I've adapted from him is just having that mindset that no matter what goes on, to just keep pushing forward. But he's definitely one of the most influential people in my life.
Yeah, and he just if you history, he's dealt with a lot, and he's just persevered and has had the success, and to be able to have that influence in your life it's meaningful, because a lot of people can't handle the type of adversity, and keep fighting and keep pushing like he has, and we can see it in you.
Most definitely.
And I'm gonna steal that quote, a word of the day, with my son, because while I make sure he knows I love him a lot and I try to help him as much as I can, I think that's a good little device. I'm gonna use that one. And I guess one last thing about your grandfather, if you talk to anyone around Tulane, they'll tell you Nick Anderson's a leader. You've gotten a Stephen Martin Award in part for your leadership. You were a semifinalist for the Campbell Award, which is sort of like called the academic Heisman, but it deals with leadership skills of one of the things. And so you recognize, is that something that you think, how to inspire people, how to lead people, is that something you got from him, or is that just a God gift? What do you attribute it to?
Certainly to my granddad and his leadership role, but this is something that my mom has heavily instilled in me in life. Is just it's okay to be different. It's okay to lead. If you're gonna lead, you gotta lead appropriately, because people are gonna follow you. People are gonna follow you no matter what you're doing. So just make sure that everything that you do is positive. And it's definitely God given. Just to have been a captain at Jones, was a captain in high school, and now be a captain at Tulane. It shows that God has definitely put me in a role to have an influence on my peers, and I'm grateful for that role. And I feel like it's definitely a responsibility on me to just make sure everything I'm doing is positive, and just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, imagine that verse in Matthew about to whom much is given, much is expected. Is
definitely, definitely
something that you keep front and center in your brain.
Definitely.
Well, let's you mentioned your high school a few times. I noticed on your social media, you're still supporting the Gators. You still on them. How was what's maybe your best memory of your high school, either career or just what happened while you were there?
My best memory from high school was my senior year of high school. It was homecoming, and I actually got, I'm gonna say that after, but we played Ridgeland High School. We started off my senior year going like 0-4, and by this time we playing Ridgeland. We're like 2-0, 3-0 in conference play. And Ridgeland had a very talented team. And the beginning of the season, I had been playing defensive end simply because my pass rushing skills were more needed rather than me being a linebacker. And they actually moved back to linebacker for Ridgeland's game. I ended up having like 9 tackles. And it was like the last drive of the game, the second to last drive of the game. Ridgeland they were driving it down trying to score. I caught an interception and returned it for like 45 yards for a touchdown. And then they got the ball back. We're up by 6. They got the ball back with like, I want to say like a minute and 5 seconds left. And I ended the game with 2.5 sacks in one series. So that's one of my most memorable games, just to be able to, be that guy, on homecoming, just to represent my school. And also that night I was voted homecoming king. So that was definitely a night to remember.
That's a busy night. That's awesome, man. I never had that. If an offensive lineman's getting a lot of credit for 2.5 sacks, it ain't a good thing. It's very bad credit. So to be able to single-handedly in 2 drives like that to pull a big upset's awesome. I love that. Now, as far as there is another story that's out there about your high school career. You almost had to stop football for a while, huh?
Oh yeah.
So what happened there?
My freshman year of high school, one thing about my mom has always demanded the best out of me. I'll never forget. In kindergarten, actually, we got our grades, and I had made all A's for the first time. And she sat me down. She told me, she said, "This is the standard. For the rest of your academic career, this is what I expect." And so all through elementary school, I made all A's. All through middle school, made all A's. And got to the second semester of my freshman year of high school and slacked up and made like an 87 in Spanish. And when I made the 87, it was the third 9 weeks. And when I made the 87, I told my Spanish teacher, I was like, I have to do something. Like, this is my first B. My mom is gonna kill me. Like, is there any extra work, extra credit that I can do? And she was like, okay, I'm gonna give you an assignment, a couple assignments to do and some makeup work that you can complete in order to receive your A. And so I did the work and I turned it in. She boosted everything to an A, and I'm thinking everything's smooth. But one thing about my mom, she always stayed on top of my grades. And so she noticed the change in my grade, and she went and met with the teacher without me knowing. And she told the teacher, she was like, what grade did he earn for the 39 weeks? And the teacher was like, he had an 87, but he did some makeup work and he made an A. She was like, no, ma'am, he earned an 87, give him the 87. The teacher was confused, but one of the things my mom had always told me is, you don't want anybody to give you anything. You want to go out and earn it. And so I ended up getting the B, and I was taken off the football team for that spring semester. And we had just got a new head coach, new defensive coordinator, so I missed, really being able to prove myself that in that spring. But ultimately, it just built up my dedication for my academics, and just my drive for, just proving myself. That year, that sophomore year, I went through a lot of trials and tribulations as far as, first year being on varsity, trying to prove to the coaches that I could play. But, I mean, it worked out. When I graduated my senior year, I was first team All-State, received All-American honors from USA Today, and just had a phenomenal senior year and graduated number 3 in my class. And so it's a true testament to my mom just staying on me and that experience of, having the one of the things that I love taken away from me for my good. And so I'm grateful for that.
I'm going to hire your mom to come give my wife and I some lessons on how to show tough love, man. That's amazing. Now, did that one B? Did that you finished third in your class? Was that what stood between you and first?
Probably so. I finished with like a 4.51, and the valedictorian finished with like a 4.73.
Okay.
So maybe I should have studied a little harder.
Yeah. Well, look. Based on that, you have one of the highest GPAs probably of any football player in the conference at 3.7 something at Tulane, but there's some B's in there.
Yeah, it is some B's in there. Actually, when I first got to Jones, I made another B in a European history class that summer while I was at Jones, and I called my mom and was like, Mom, I made a B, I'm devastated. And at that point, she told me, she was like, everything that I had done prior to that moment was for me to get to college and have that understanding that academics comes first. She was like, you being a college athlete, having to handle, everything, a B is fine here and there. Now, don't make it a habit, but, it's understandable. Your degree won't have your GPA on it, but she was just proud of how, there was something that I still had, being in college, just wanting to stay on top of my grades. Mm-hmm. And even then, even since then, I've made a couple B's since I've been at Tulane, but that's as low as I'm going. And if anything, my B's are going to be B pluses. But overall, I'm fighting to get them A's.
Yeah, and I'm messing with you a little bit. I mean, 3.7 is a phenomenal achievement, and I guess you're probably on track to graduate this spring or coming up soon, huh?
I'm supposed to walk in the spring, so I'm on track. This is my last semester, so go ahead and get my degree.
Yeah, and I guess you're gonna stick around and do some graduate work.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
most definitely.
And so your major now is in Homeland Security,
right?
And what's your plan, sort of going forward after? I mean, I know NFL is on the radar, but after all playing career is over, what do you have in mind?
My plan, as far as using my degree, is to go into emergency management, simply because my just passion for helping people and being able to, assist people during disasters, natural disasters, and things like that. And also just, being in a city like New Orleans to see, things that they went through with Hurricane Katrina, things that, Louisiana went through with Hurricane Ida, the damage in Lake Charles that they received over flooding, and just, being able to have a career that is able to help people in situations like those is one of the reasons why I chose Homeland Security. But when it's all said and done, I'm probably going to end up, coaching after, I finish things in Homeland Security field, just for my love of ball and, like I said, my passion for helping people and, helping people like myself that, really didn't get the exposure in high school. Just helping people, understand the routes that they can take in order to, do what they love and fulfill their dreams.
Yeah, and we can go there right now. I mean, you mentioned USA Today All-American, first team All-State, and yet in Vicksburg is probably the highest classification in terms of
5A.
Yeah, 5A.
5A. So one lower than 6A.
Okay, and despite all that, really under recruited. I think most of your offers were FCS level.
Yes, sir.
And so you made a choice that not a lot of people that go to junior college are there for the same reason. Most people that go to junior college to play football, they have to get their grades up.
Right.
You didn't have that. You went there. Why'd you choose to go to junior college?
Just overall, like you said, my senior year, I didn't have the offers that I wanted. My dream has always been to play top level Division I football, and no knocks to any of the FCS programs that offered me. I was very grateful for them seeing the potential in me to give me an offer and opportunity to come play for their program. But just one of the things I dreamed of, my heart was pushing me towards, just going to Jones. And a lot of people disagree with me. A lot of people, question my decision. But it was something that I had prayed about and meditated about. And it's one of the things that I'll never regret doing. I love my time at Jones. I love my time spent there. The relationships that I made with my junior college teammates are some that's going to last a lifetime. And overall, it humbled me, just being able to go to a junior college and, you don't have the best resources, you don't have the best opportunities, but we made the most of it. We played in the state championship. While we were there, we went 10-2. And the loss was in the state championship, and the other loss was like the second game of the season. And Stetson Bennett, he's going to play in the national championship. That was my quarterback.
Okay, wow.
And just to have the experience is something I'll never take back. And I'm grateful because if I hadn't went to Jones, I wouldn't be at such an institution like Tulane, and just wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to come here and play next to some great guys. So I'm happy I took that route. But like you said, it's something that is rare to see a guy, go to junior college level off choice, not just having to go there, but it's something I'm grateful that I did.
Yeah, and so I guess we know who you got on Monday then, right?
Yes, most definitely.
Your guys playing for the national championship. Man, that's cool. And then so you were only there for that first semester. You were getting recruited immediately by some Division I schools based on the success you had. And so, if I understand the timeline correctly, well, before I get into that, who was sort of initially responsible for your recruiting at Tulane?
The first person that contacted me was Fritz, just saying that they had interest. Then Coach Curtis at the time, he called me and told me that they were interested, that they loved my film. And he was like, they had to see, would my grades be good enough to transfer? And once he said that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get offered.
I'm good there.
Because I'm good in that aspect. And then Coach Moose came down to a game. And one of the things that really, really sold me with Tulane was Coach Fritz came. And he came and saw me at Jones. He drove up. And that's just one of the things, like, from the other schools, I saw the head coaches, but it was when I went on unofficial visits for Coach Fritz driving his own truck to come see me and tell me, we want you in our program. That was one of the things that stood out to me, just, about the program and his character. And that's, one of the reasons why I decided to come here.
Yeah, and so I think you were planning to go to USA, South Alabama.
South Alabama was the first school that offered me when I got to junior college. Like, they offered me a week before I even played on the field. And that's because their coaching staff was also at Central Arkansas prior to that, so they offered me at Central Arkansas. Okay. But I had Ole Miss. Ole Miss offered me, but it was one of those non-committable offers, that type deal. I had interest from Mississippi State. They never offered. I had an offer from ULM. I had an offer from Hawaii, and I had an offer from UNLV. So it came down to ultimately what Ole Miss was going to do and Tulane. And just Tulane really treated me like a priority versus an option. I knew that they needed, linebackers to come in, so, I'd be able to get a chance to get on the field. And just coming on my visit and seeing the genuine relationships that Coach Moots, Coach him, Coach Curtis at the time, Coach Fritz, that the relationships that they had with each other and also the relationships they had with their players just seemed genuine. Like, it seemed like a genuine program where everybody was happy, everybody got along, and that was something that I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, and a lot of times what you see in recruiting doesn't always come true.
Definitely, most definitely.
Get there, but I take it based on our conversations that what you saw is actually what you got.
Yeah, never changed. Even Coach Moose, the same guy he was when he was recruiting me, is the same guy he has been and is today. And just overall with the coaching staff, nobody changed and started acting like a totally different person when I got here. You know, what you saw was what you got with them, and I'm grateful.
Yeah, when I was being recruited, and this was his way. He was a former Vietnam guy and a really legendary offensive line coach, and I probably deserved it all. But when I was coming out, Coach Zerline, who ended up being my offensive line coach for my first 2 years at Tulane, was the LSU offensive line coach, and he recruited me pretty hard at LSU, and I had an offer and all that other stuff, and I would go to all their games, and like I'd go to the little recruiting room, and he's showing me around. I went to Tiger Day, and I remember he walked me with his arm around my shoulder the entire time, introduced me to the whole staff. I mean, I'm thinking this guy's like my teddy bear grandfather.
Man.
And I got none of that those first 2 years at Tulane. Now, I probably deserved it because I wasn't performing at the level he expected out of me, and I deserved it looking back. But I was like, what happened to the nice guy that was recruiting me? And so it's good to hear, stories where what you see is what you get, because it doesn't always happen, although, again, it's more my fault than his. So Coach Fritz swings the deal. You show up. Your first year, you started a few games, played in every game, played a lot of special teams, got a lot of action as a reserve. I guess we had Lawrence Graham, linebacker that year. He was the linebacker. And I'll tell you, and because I got all these glowing questions, and this is actually a compliment to you. One of the things I noticed about you, Nick, was, okay, here's the guy, Nick Anderson. Coach Fritz has talked him up a few times in preseason, and then it seemed like very early on, getting used to the speed and maybe the strength of offensive linemen in the FBS level. It seemed like you got eaten up a little bit or overwhelmed a little bit early on, like where it was like you didn't get off the blocks quite like you probably expected to.
Right.
But then you can actually watch you over that course of the season just get better and better and better. And by the Armed Forces Bowl, you were making some pretty impact plays.
Most definitely. I'll tell all my teammates, even the young guys, that, coming in from junior college, being an all-state linebacker and an all-American linebacker, my head was big. I thought I was going to come in and everything was going to be smooth, but playing Auburn week 2 that season, it showed me, okay, you got some work to do. I wasn't in my playbook as hard as I should have been that year. I was in the weight room hard, but just that hard-working, person that I am wasn't really there. And then we ended up playing Southern Miss. They announced that we were playing Southern Miss in a bowl game, and it's like everything clicked because Southern Miss was one of those schools that, being from Vicksburg, Mississippi, that I really wanted to, go to, and to just, not get a phone call from them, it struck me kind of personally. So that, time off, the 2 weeks we got off before coming back to practice for the Armed Forces Bowl, I was in that playbook hard. I was working, hard to get my wind up so I can play that game. And I think Lawrence's helmet got broke, and I got in the game, and I've been going hard ever since.
Yeah, it showed, and you remind me of that Michael Jordan, The Last Dance documentary. I took that personally.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Can't wait to play him again this season.
Yeah, very nice. Well, yeah, and then you got him good last year too in 2020. So I touched on it earlier, but the Stephen Martin Scholar, you earned that recognition, and so one male and one female athlete at Tulane each year get awarded this. And the award is meant to represent those athletes who have the highest level of character and leadership skills while being academically driven and having success on the field.
Right.
And, of course, Stephen Martin is significant because he was the first African-American player to play one of the major sports in the SEC. Yeah, he was a baseball player for Tulane in the 60s. And so what's that mean to you to get that recognition?
I mean, it is extraordinary. I was baffled when they announced that I got it. Um, I was proud to receive it simply because to have my grandfather, like you said, to be, a black person in Mississippi that has achieved so much, and to come down to Tulane and receive an award that basically stands for the same things that he's been through, it was just an honor. He was the happiest for me to be able to receive that. And like you said, just everything that, Stephen Martin, stood for, everything he went through, and to receive an award, just representing that, it was an honor. And, I was, very thankful to the athletic director, Troy Dannon, and Coach Fritz, and, everybody for, just giving me the award. And, it was a blessing.
That's awesome. And look, I'm going to detour from my script because the 2021 winner is another guy that you got a lot of respect for, huh?
Sincere Hainsworth, that's my guy, and I'm glad that he got the award because he definitely distributes everything that it stands for, just his character, off the field, his tenacity on the field, and handling his business in the classroom. He's not a captain for no reason, and he's just definitely one of those guys I can depend on to, do his job and help me lead the others on his team.
Yeah, and Sincere, I'm coming for you. I love offensive linemen, offensive necks, and I know my people watching want to get the quarterback in here, and we're going to get Michael at some point if he wants to come on, but I'm really leaning Sincere as the next guest. I
love Sincere.
do it. Now those inside drills, y'all call it something else. Two spot. It's you and Sincere have to get after it. So.
Yeah, we go at it every day. We go at it every day, whether it's two spot, one-on-one pass rush. Sincere has definitely made me better. He played as a true freshman and was one of those guys that you looked at and you like, yeah, he's gonna be a dog per se.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something that he does. He just has that mentality to come in and get better. For his position, he would be, say, undersized like I am for my position,
mm-hmm.
and he plays with a chip on his shoulder. And he's a strong guy. I'm strong, but he's strong too. And that's one of the things you see when we do the two-spot drills. One thing that he has helped me do is be able to be more efficient with my hand placement and defeating blocks, because one thing about Sincere, once he gets his hands on you, you're not going anywhere. And so just being able to use my hands and things like that is something that he's been able to teach me. And one of the things that he's tried to improve on is just his overall foot speed, with being a center, being able to snap the ball and take on, blitzes and stuff like that. So we definitely be able to, help each other in both aspects.
Yeah, and when you talk about that skill as an offensive lineman, I mean, Sincere might face some challenges because, like you said, he's considered undersized for his position, but he's got that attribute that rare guys have. Like when you watch linemen who play NFL, I play with a guy, Bernard Robertson, who's in the Tulane Hall of Fame, and he spent several years in the NFL, and they just, when they get you, that's the key attribute. if they once they get their hands engaged, if they got you and it's over, that's just a skill that not everybody has as consistently as some. And the guys that have that, the guys that can control the block with that are the guys that make a lot of money in the next level. So, Nick, let's talk a little bit about your play on the field. I guess the knock on you is you're supposedly short, 5'10". Dorian's over there with all the height.
Yeah, you will.
But you don't play small. You play with great strength. You play with quickness. More importantly, I think what you play with is great anticipation and just sort of awareness, and it comes from being such an intelligent person, I'm sure, and putting in the work. But and I guess you hit guys that go down. So I was thinking through comps, and a guy whose name has been coming up because he's a finalist for the NFL Hall of Fame is Sam Mills.
Oh, most definitely.
Did you ever get an opportunity to watch some old Sam Mills clips on how he played? He was shorter than you, but
I actually did. When I was at Jones, I remember watching the live stream of our game that we played against Southwest, and the announcer said that I reminded him of Sam Mills. So, I did my research, and Coach JJ actually played with Sam Mills for the Saints.
That's right.
And so he's
JJ McCluskey. Yeah.
So he's definitely, told me about Sam Mills. And I've watched his film. He was a dynamic football player. Didn't play true to his size. Just played dominantly. And to see him now, be inducted into the Hall of Fame is just like, it's possible, despite, your size, it's possible to, excel on the next level and, to really dominate no matter what. And so Sam Mills has definitely earned a spot as one of my favorite linebackers.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's I was a kid. But I was in my teens, so when you're absorbing everything, and it was always like just he was such an impactful player, and the games remind me of your game reminds me of his. So that's
Thank you.
pretty good credit. To my eye, probably your best attribute is sort of your ability to recognize what the offense is trying to do, before anybody else on the field, at least anybody else on the defense, and you make plays so quickly. Is sort of your, I'll say, awareness, but anticipation, recognition, that sort of the mental part and being able to translate your physical body into it. Is what I think is your best attribute. Would you agree with that, or is there something else that you think is a special attribute or your best attribute that makes you a special football player?
I feel like my top two attributes being a football player is, number one, just like you said, just being very instinctive, just having great instincts of knowing like where the play is going, knowing the angle to take, knowing that to be in this gap because my fellow linebacker has this gap. And then my second one would be just my overall toughness, not being afraid of anything, being able to play hard, play physical, play tough and strong. But most definitely, that just goes to a testament of how I'm coached. Coach Hemp, like I said, is just a dynamic and intelligent coach. He has came in and brought great philosophies to our defense. Coach Moose is legendary. Just everything that he's taught me since I've been here. I'm blessed to be up under him one more year, and just thankful for everything that he's instilled in us as linebackers. And I mean, not just for me, you can see Dorian plays phenomenally well. Marvin Moody was dynamic linebacker. Zach Harris was dynamic. Nico Marley was dynamic. Kevin Henry was dynamic. Lawrence, Malik, and it's just a true testament to like everything that Coach Moose does with us. He breaks it down. He teaches us football. He gives us a boost in that football IQ of understanding, not only our roles, but our roles in relation to the defensive line's roles, to the defensive backs. And, I'm just excited. I love being in the meeting room, and he's correcting us or showing us stuff, showing us a lot of NFL guys is one of the things that he does, is just showing us how, people on the next level, do as far as like taking on blocks, getting off blocks. Mm-hmm. He stays on me about my pass coverage because one of the things I like to do is I like to backpedal versus being subtle and staying, square. And I'm pretty sure once I do that, I'm going to catch a couple of interceptions. But, just he's one of those coaches that is fine-tuned on the details. You could make a sack, but if your feet was off or you took a false step, he's going to be the first one to let you know. And that's how you want to be coached, because that's going to ultimately make you better.
Yeah, and that was going to be a question a little later, but you nailed it already. And that was about Coach Moose. I mean, because I recognize how much respect you have for him. And as far as Chris Hampton goes, defensive coordinator, what are some of the things? I mean, you talked a little bit about what makes him a great coach, but what are some of the, expound on that a little bit in terms of why Coach Hampton's such a great coach?
He's just so intelligent as far as his philosophies, his disguises in the defense, his energy. He's one of those coaches. You can tell he's passionate about what he does. He cares about us. I was on the phone the other day laughing. He calls us up all the time, and he just has a good overall relationship with his players to where you want to play for him. You want to do what he says. In the meeting rooms, when we come in, he has music playing, like he's one of us, and so it's just one of the things that just make the relationship so much better. And just on the field, he's just so intelligent. Like, that's one of the things I love about Coach Hemp. Is just like, you do what he tells you to, is there. Like, I remember Cincinnati, the big thing with them in Tennessee is where they like to run a drag and then run a dig behind it, and they also did it on third down. And so it got to third down, going in when we played them. It was like 3rd and 15, and they ran the double digs. They ran a dig in front and a dig behind me. And if I had sat in the window, knowing that Spencer Rattler, his tendency was to throw the second dig, based off reading the middle linebacker, I would have had an interception. And it's just something that Coach Hemp had told me all week that I didn't execute. But it's like, that's the thing. Like, he's just such a good coach that if you just do what he says, you're going to definitely make the play. And this is one of the things I love about him.
Yeah, and that's sort of something that, and we'll talk about last season, but you kind of saw more and more of the 11 guys on the field at the time kind of sort of believing that, or at least doing what he was saying, like,
right.
And we saw the improvement. With as far as schematically, I mean, is he doing things differently than Coach Curtis in any way, or is it more just his values really kind of doing a lot of the same things, just kind of doing it in a way to get better execution?
I feel like Coach Curtis was a dynamic coach as well.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But one of the things with Coach Curtis ran more of a one-high defense, played a lot of man as far as, he demanded a lot out of defensive backs because his main priority was stopping the run. And I feel like Coach Hemp, after seeing that and seeing, how, we didn't do so well that last year of, being able to stop the pass, one of his things was being able to do both. Being able to, hit offenses with different disguises, being able to bring guys from all over, and being able to use players that for what they're special at doing. That was one of the things that, you saw with me specifically this year. I pass rush a lot, which is something that, I love to do, but I got the opportunity to do it with Coach Hemp because, that's what he wants to do. He wants to use guys for their strengths and put them in the right position to make plays based off their intangibles. And, you saw somebody like Macon Clark who, did have a great year last year but was able to do more this year playing a different position.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a testament to Coach Hemp and just getting him being able to help Macon to just expand his personal football IQ and his knowledge and have another intangible in his back pocket from where he can be an in-the-box, outside linebacker per se, play nickel, and also being a post safety. And, even with Jalen Monroe, Jalen had a phenomenal year. The year before, he had been stressed a lot, just playing man coverage with nobody behind him. But he was able to play more confidently this year because, he had safety help. And just one of the things, like I said over and over, just Coach Hemp being able to see, where we struggled at and being able to put us in places, to detour that.
Yeah, and so, I mean, as in 2020, and specifically stopping the pass, we got beat over the top a lot because we had cornerbacks, whether nickel or the outside guys, having to defend fades and goes and all this stuff without safety help because one eye or you might be zero or whatever. Definitely. Whereas this year, you had a lot more two-high looks, you had more zone looks. But that there's a give and take with that, right? So now you're having to defend the run with one less defender sometimes.
Right.
And we had some struggles early in the year, but it looked like towards the end of the season we were able to accomplish both.
Right. And then just one of the things of like you said, defending the run, you do got to look at the aspect where we did have guys that were younger, like Keith Cooper, who did pretty well for a true freshman, but him just being in there trying to get the understand how things going. You got a first-year starter like Darius Hodges, who was very impactful as far as getting tackles for loss. But, you had Angelo Anderson. He was this is his first year really playing. And you just got those young guys. So this is one of the things that's going to come is just being able to be adamant in run defense. They're going to be phenomenal at that next year. But overall, just limiting the explosive plays over the top simply because, this is a passing league is something that, the game has adapted to. And I feel like that was Coach Hemp's main priority is just not giving up big plays, and that's something that we did well.
Yeah, and so you mentioned some of those names, and I don't know that people understand why experience matters in today's football playing defense, particularly with all these offenses we see, is they're playing them so fast.
Right.
And so let's give people an idea. So you're playing Ole Miss. They're trying to snap in about 12 seconds after the last whistle. Run us down. They're trying to get it off, with the play clock is still in the 30s, right? And so you have a role in calling the defense. You're getting a signal from the sideline. Take us through what's that like. What's happening in those 10, 12 seconds or whatever between the last guy's down and the next play's being snapped?
So as soon as the ball carrier hits the ground and the referee blows the whistle, the first thing that, I try to analyze is what's the down and distance, what personnel the offense is in, whether they're in 11 or 12, and combining the personnel with the down and distance, it gives you ideology of what plays is finna come. Then you gotta look to the sideline and get the call. We have two people signaling due to the reality that people still signal.
Right.
So you gotta look at the card that's behind them because the card tells you which person is signaling. And you gotta get the signal. Then once you get the signal, you gotta line up the front by giving the laser rip call based on the strength of the field and based on where's the passing strength. If you got 3 detached receivers to the left, 1 receiver to the right, then you're gonna call a Liz call. If it's balanced, we're gonna always go to our personal passing strength, which also be a Liz call. And then from that point, being able to do my own alignment, whether I'm apex outside the box or I gotta line up in a 2 in the B gap or line up outside on the edge. And then also being able to tell the lineman, Roy Lee, which is just defining which area we're coming from. Being able to talk to the back end, my safety Larry Brooks, because he was the safety on my side, just being able for us to discuss the coverage, and also being able to tell Dorian what I'm finna do if I gotta lead the box and he's gonna be there by himself, or listening to him telling me what he's about to do. It's a lot that goes on in those 10 seconds. But overall, like I said, just with the help of Coach Moose and my coaches, it's something that is second nature, and just being instinctive, because sometimes you may get into a play call and really once the ball snaps, everything then is like a chess match, because let's say I have to carry the receiver vertical because I got the vertical hook responsibility. If he goes out, then I got to look for something else coming in. Or if we're bringing somebody from the boundary and I got weak hook responsibility and we got the defensive end or somebody dropping to the strong hook, then I got to have that mental awareness to know, the defensive end can't run with a guy that's, 4-4-4-3. I got to take him. And it's just something that, just grows and grows and has been a part of my game and my experience is just, being able to learn different things about football, being able to learn different philosophies of how offenses work. And it's something that I've developed in since my sophomore year and since I've gotten here, and the sky's the limit for that.
Yeah, I mean, and so if you're following on, basically we're figuring out, personnel, how many receivers, how many running backs, how many tight ends are in the game, because that tells you something, and then down distance, and so figuring out the play, get the play from the sideline. And what is he calling it? Is he calling in both a front and a coverage, or is it simpler than that, harder than that?
He does a good job of trying to give everything like one-word names, to where he calls something. Let's say he calls stacked coaching or something like that. He calls that gives you the coverage, the front, what side where it's a boundary blitz or a field blitz, field pressure. And it's really simplistic as far as like the calls, to where you're not having to really think. Everything's not different calls, but everything means something. Like this one call means a lot of different things.
But it's sort of like it's a differential equations or algebraic, in a sense that they're conditions, right? Because if stack might mean 4-man rush, from an underlook with cover 2 behind it against 2x2, 2 receivers on one side, 2 on the other. But if you got trips, then that checks into
something else,
right? And then if you get motion, and then that might check into something else, and you're having to, up to the time that ball snapped, you're having to communicate any change that's occurring as a result of those conditions, those changes from the offense. You're having to communicate to 3 levels. And
then you play a team like Ole Miss or UCF, to where they're going so fast that you do got to play with instincts. I'll never forget the sack I had versus UCF. We were in man coverage. The linebacker to the back had the back man-to-man. The linebacker away is supposed to undercut the receiver on the crossing route. And the ball snapped quick. The receiver came on the crossing route, and the corner is taught to stay with the receiver unless I give him a cut call. And I'm supposed to give him the cut call to keep him from, just in case he gets picked or, he's in the tailpipe, so he's chasing. But, I mean, the B gap opened up, so I shot it and made the sack. So it was one of those give or takes. And, that's just as far as goes back to, just being instinctive and trying to make a play. But, that's just one of the things of, trying to be able to handle everything, that sometimes you get caught with your pants down when you're dealing with an offense that goes extremely fast.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have to be on that mental page. And so we're here in the Jimmy O Show here to disabuse anybody watching of the notion that football players are dumb. It takes a lot of quick analysis and reaction, to be successful. One real quick little follow up on that, like you mentioned some of the plays you made. If you had to have one play to win the game, would you rather? Is it from an off ball position, A gap, B gap, coming in, hitting the quarterback in the chest? Is it beating a slow tackle like me and from the edge, because you rush from the edge sometimes, right? Is it a sack like that? Is it a blowing up a running play in the backfield? Is it running somebody down on a drag? What's your ideal way to?
My ideal,
or your favorite, the things that get you the hypest for the type of play you make, if there's any.
Definitely sacks. Yeah. Simply because last year or the year prior, I had like 4. I want to say I finished the season with like 3.5 sacks, but I missed like 6. Really could have been up there with Pat Johnson, but I missed the sacks. But that's something I prided myself on this past year, is just giving the opportunity to get back there and sack the quarterback. You got to take advantage of it, and I finished this past season with 4. And that was just something I was very happy for. I love, when I get the blitz and I get to, rush the quarterback and make a sack, because that's one of the, with a sack, a lot of people don't realize it doesn't only affect the quarterback, it affects the offensive line, it affects the receiver because they ran a wasted route, it affects the offense coordinator because, he didn't get to execute the play. So I feel like that's one of the most impactful plays in football. And just me personally, aside from that, is just the play where, it's short yardage, the hole opens up, and it's just you one-on-one with the back, and just being able to, show who's the toughest, who's going to, fight to stop the other person. And those just are 2 situations that I live for in the football field.
Now, I like the mono. Now, Tajay says he'll make a man miss in a hole 9 times out of 10.
He got me one time. I give him that. But Tajay is another player that is very dynamic, has a very unique skill set, and somebody that I love competing against. We go at it every day. He holds that one time over my head, and then I hold the time that it was my first practice of fall camp, and as well as his with pads on. And he had been talking a whole bunch of noise leading up into that, and he ran the wheel route to the field, and I had a man-to-man. And I let him catch it, and as soon as he caught it, I blasted him. So it's just one of the things that we just always go at it, and I love that about him.
Yeah, and that's where look, that competition is what makes great teams.
Definitely.
You got to have great players challenging each other. So Coach Fritz, we'll get into a little bit of this past season, but just when I think of Coach Fritz, I think of words like competent, consistent, confident. He's a guy. He seems to know what he wants. And he knows how to bring it out of guys, and he does it in a pretty consistent way. Is that accurate? That's my observation, but is that what you see?
Most definitely. Coach Fritz is a coach that you can tell that he's passionate about what he does. He's passionate about what he's done as far as in past programs, and he's definitely wants to bring his past success to Tulane. He wasn't satisfied with going 6-6. He's definitely not satisfied with our previous season, and you can see that's why he's made some of the changes he's made in this off season. And that's just one of the things he told us. He just vows to bring this program to having a success. He will win a conference championship here at Tulane. And it's going to be done this year, and that's just one of the things that he's just been on top of, is just just being one of those coaches that demands the best out of us, and not just the best out of us on the field. The best out of us is, us being men in the community, and just being in the classroom, handling our academics, being great guys as far as socially. This is one of the things about him. He really wants to develop players, into being great men, great husbands, great fathers, and that's one of the things that I just love about him.
Yeah, that's how we change the world, and as disciples, we're here to serve one another, we're here to love one another, and that's he's a man who walks that walk.
Right.
He's there to make you guys better men, better football players along the way. But I find that in him, watching him, and I do have a lot of respect for him. One thing that I think he does well too, you mentioned earlier, like, he treats y'all like men when you've earned it.
Right.
And so your captains, you and Sincere and Michael, and who am I missing?
Dorian,
the 4 captains of the team. Y'all actually have input on things like people he's thinking about hiring.
Right. Most definitely.
We're not asking for names, but I'm saying like he involves you in that process.
Definitely, and that's just one of the things that shows how serious he is. Just going into next season, he told us that I already have my captains for next year. I trust you guys. The team trusts you guys, and I want you guys to talk to the team, bring me their concerns, bring me any issues we have, so they can be fixed because he wants what's best for this program, and he really believes in true that the success of the players leads to the ultimate success of the team, and that's why he asks for our input on certain things. He asks how we feel about things. He asks how things are going in the locker room. That's something that he wants to know because ultimately as the head coach, he wants to make the best decisions based off us, and I feel like that's great for us.
Yeah. And it's going to get turned around. Now one other guy I want to ask you about. I wrote it down to do it earlier. Your guy, your co-captain, Dorian. Lines up next to you.
That's my brother.
What's Dorian bringing to the table? What's his best skills or greatest attributes as a football player?
Just his intangibles of him being just a fast, intelligent football player, and also being very long. Strong too. He's worked so hard as far as he came in like 180, 190, skinny. Now he's like 230. He caught me in bench. I'm not gonna let him catch me.
Oh
in
no,
squat.
you can't let him do that. Okay.
He caught me in bench press, but he's just one of those guys that's a very diligent, hard worker. He plays very tough. Plays just like me, no gloves, no sleeves, none of that. Just out there just playing football, and just he's the yin to my yang as far as being linebacker. I know I can always depend on him to make a play. If I were to miss a tackle or something, I know he's gonna clean it up. And just one of the things that I'm glad that we had that bond and brotherhood on and off the field. We came in together. We're just ready to take the reins from Marvin and Kevin as far as being the two linebackers this year, and having Jesus Machado coming in and also having a relationship with us in that linebacker room. And we're just excited to play another year with Dorian, play another year with Zeus, Larry Brooks, all those guys. They're very phenomenal guys in their defense that I've been here with these past 3 years, and I'm excited for everything next year.
Yeah, and you and Dorian, number 1 and 2 in the middle of the field. By the way, my wife, I was able to make my wife. She is her favorite position group now is linebacker because she was born and raised in Mississippi, out in the Meridian area, around Meridian in Philadelphia, and I say raised. At 9, she moved to Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is right next door to where Dorian.
Like 15 minutes away, I think.
Yeah, so it was like, Dorian's from basically your backyard, and Nick's grandfather, he's the mayor of Vicksburg. I was like, well, I like those guys. so she's a big fan of you guys. Let's touch on last season. What was the, and I was going to ask you game by game. We'll kind of skip that. We've been through a lot of it, but what was sort of the toughest part of dealing with that whole thing?
Just overall, the hurricane was very tough, and at the time, it was something that we didn't, as a football player, you want to have that mindset where no excuses, you got to keep fighting and keep pushing. But now that the season is over, you really are able to look at the reality and the effects that it had on us last season, just being away from home, the mental aspect of, a lot of our guys are from Louisiana, and had family who houses were destroyed or had damage, and just, trying to play through all of that, and also, dealing with injuries by, playing a team like Oklahoma, who is a very, physical outlook, and just not being able to have the right treatment and right equipment at the hotel. And no knocks to the equipment staff and the managers and the trainers. They did what they could with what they had, but it was just one of those things where it affected us throughout the whole season. It affected me because I ended up having a stress fracture in my ankle. This is actually my first time being able to talk about that, but had the stress fracture in my ankle after Oklahoma game, and didn't know it was a stress fracture until I broke it during Ole Miss game, and just just dealing with that, my injuries. Michael, sustained a lot of injuries throughout the season. Dorian had injuries throughout the season. So I just feel like just, us not being able to be at our own spot really just affected us over the course of the year.
Yeah, and that's something I really didn't think about much until we were talking before the show. But we talked about last week with Tajay about how the season started really slowly for him. Well, you got to think that not having the same training room, not having the same physical rehab facilities.
Right. It slowed down the recovery process.
Yeah, and then the people that incur, like you said, a stress factor, you don't diagnose that as quickly.
Right.
When you're in a hotel in Birmingham versus at the Tulane Medical Center, right? And those types of things add up. And so we really had that. And in our, not coincidentally, I mean, our lowest point of the season was when you were gone. You got hurt against Ole Miss. And then we really struggled, just basic stuff against UAB and ECU and in terms of run fit and things like that. We kind of a hallmark of Tulane defense since Coach Fritz has been around. We've been able to stop the run. And it's like, oh man, and fans like me is like, Coach Hamp over his head, and you guys though were in the media saying, look, he knows what he's talking about. Right. It's on us to get it right. And then we saw it because you look down the stretch, you look at the defense. Because Fritz had mentioned it here, but the second ranked defense in the league for the last half of the season. So really, after the SMU game, you look at the scores. We're putting up scores, or we're limiting opponents to scores that you should win these games. I mean, Cincinnati only had 26, I think, with 3 minutes left in the game. But they were at 19. I mean, that was a close game late into the fourth. And we're playing with a freshman quarterback, and then Christian Daniels had to come in because he got hurt.
Right.
And just the scrappiness there. But like UCF scored 14, Tulsa scored 20 with an overtime. That stretch there, we're playing winning defense. And so it's like, well, really seeing a lot out of Coach Hamp and his boys now coming down the stretch. And we saw it from you. Sacks in 4 straight games, 7 tackles for losses over about a 4-5 game stretch there. So y'all felt that confidence sort of building and believe in yourself down the stretch.
Most definitely. And just having that, like I say, that's one of the things that I stand for, just having that overall faith in our coaches and everything that we're doing, understanding that, through our situation that the people that we had to depend on most was each other. And that was just one of the things that really I focused on just while I was out, while I was injured, is just being that guy that can continue to motivate our team, continue to, be able to lead in any way I can, whether that's, holding up signs, on the sideline. Or
you with the scooter, right? You got the leg up in the scooter and holding up the signaling in the place.
Yeah, most definitely. Just trying to help out any way I can. And, like I say, just this season was definitely a growing season for the team, and also just myself, as far as like the aspect of I had never been hurt before, but it's one of the things like Coach Moose tells us, and that's one of the things again I love about Coach Moose. Prior to the season, we do this linebacker thing during fall camp where we sit down and we just discuss the mental aspect of being a college athlete and things like that. And one of the things that he emphasized in the preseason was control the controllables, and the difference between, knowing what you can control and things you can't. And one of the things that, he talked about was injuries. That's something that you ultimately can't control, and it's easy to, like I was there for Tajay when, he got injured. I was there for Carlos when he got injured prior to the season, but you don't fully understand where they're coming from until you're injured. And so to, be in that Ole Miss game and, to really know something's wrong, but, just playing through it and then get back, your first day back in New Orleans, you can't walk because something's wrong with your leg. Then they sit you down and tell you, okay, you broke your fibula. So that's why you can't walk. So it's like, okay, what now? I ended up having surgery like the next day. And then the training crew, they did a great job as far as, helping me with physical therapy. I was coming in twice a day. My teammates did a great job of just being there for me. Dorian was a little, hurt at first, knowing that he'll have to play without me. But like I told him, you got to take the reins. It's not like you haven't been here before. You got to handle your business. And he played dynamic against Houston, against UAB. Kevin Henry stepped up and played Mike Backer, and they got it done. And I was, very excited when I can get back on the field with them versus SMU. But, just like I said, it's one of the things that affected us all year is just injuries. And, injuries take a lot on you as far as the mental aspect. I didn't know if I was going to be able to come back and play the same. I just had to, have faith in God that, he was going to bless me to do so. And to just come back, like you said, those last couple of games and have 4 sacks and, finish number 2 and number 3 on the team in tackles. It's just a true blessing. Like, it's a blessing from God. Like, Dr. Hurd and, different trainers, they said that they had never really seen somebody, have surgery in the middle of the season and be able to come back and play. And I don't know how I did it. Yeah, I just can say that, it was a true testament to God, true testament to my coaches being smart when I came back and, having me play a limited amount of reps in practice and being smart as far as, what I did and just the program just being behind me and me believing in the doctors, me believing in the coaches. And so even though, we didn't have the best season, it's still things that we had to go through this season in order to reap the harvest that we're going to reap the next season. Like I said, I'm a big man in faith and on the spiritual side. And in the Bible, it says that there's a time for everything. There's a time to win and a time to lose. And even though we did a lot of losing last season, I feel like ultimately we won in the things that we were taught in this season going towards the next season. I'm just overall excited for it.
Yeah, and look, I told you before, I was part of something that went, I was 2-9 twice at Tulane, and then I went out 12-0. It can be done in a short period of time. Healing though from a broken fibula or tibula, right? In 4 weeks, though, Nick, I kind of feel like your long ancestor was one of those people in the Capernaum that Jesus put hands on and healed. You got some sort of special gene in there. I don't know, man. That's an incredible time frame to get back, and then to play the way you did was awesome. And so, I mean, that was kind of where I was leading with this, and just to put a cap on last season. I mean, it's easy to play well and to play with enthusiasm and play with excitement when things are going well.
Right.
Look, when you're reeling off 12 wins in a row, look, every day is a great day. Other than when Coach Rod made us do the up downs, loafing, what they call loafing. I'll tell you about that after. But it's a lot harder to put that effort in when you got nothing to play for in terms of postseason, in terms of conference championship, and yet we saw that. And so that's when I look at 2022, I see a group of guys with that character and then with the physical talents that I know they have if they got their whole group. It's like I could see a quick turnaround here. What are you most optimistic for when you look to 2022? Or are you optimistic, I guess?
I'm very, very optimistic just to know that this is going to be Coach Hamp's second year in the defense. We're going to have a lot of guys that are experienced. We brought in a lot of good recruits as far as, defensive linemen. Brought a lot of guys in on the offensive side of the ball that can make plays at receiver, bringing in, talented guys as far as, adding on to that backfield. I'm excited for it. We got a chance to get a lot of guys back, get Pratt healthy, get Abieta healthy, get Carlos back, get Tajay another year of, recovery, get Joey another year of recovery. So I'm just excited. And to see, how, I came back, Larry's coming back, Macon's coming back, and a lot of guys just really dialed in to say, okay, we're not going out like this, being a 2-9 team. It really shows how, you got a lot of guys that have character, that have heart, that, want to come in, want to, get things done, want to finish what we ultimately, help start and just get a conference championship to Tulane. And I just love that I have those guys beside me and that I can depend on them, they can depend on me, and we can get this stuff done.
Yeah, awesome. All right, now we're going to move on to some important stuff.
Okay.
All right, Nick, you got to tell everybody what's the best food in the world? What's your favorite food?
Best food in the world.
Favorite thing to eat?
Favorite thing to eat. My favorite thing to eat is pecan pie.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
That's my favorite thing to eat.
Now, is it mom? Who's the specialist?
She's kind of like my aunt, but she's really my cousin. Her name is LaPonta Jones in Woodville, Mississippi. She makes the absolute best pecan pie.
Oh, man, we're just getting through the holidays. I can't ever turn it down. I turn it down a lot. I'll watch my guy Bradley and stack coaching and all of the great things he does with nutrition from afar. But, man, That's a hard one to pass.
Most definitely.
Now, what's your favorite as far as New Orleans? Now, what's your favorite restaurant or food that you get here?
Just just overall, I want to say Mulat's.
Yeah.
Mulat's is one of my favorite restaurants down here. Just getting the boudin balls, the gumbo, and they have a great choice of seafood. And I love going down there. The red beans and rice are good, and the ooey gooey is very, very tasty to finish everything off.
Yeah, no doubt. We do recruiting trips there, huh? And so you get a chance to. You always hosting, I'm sure.
Yes, most definitely. And if I'm not hosting, I find a way to get down there.
Yeah, very good. Now, as far as things to do around town when you're not playing ball, what's some of what activities you like to do in New Orleans?
Just overall, I like going to the French Quarter and just hanging out down there, being able to really experience the culture of the city, being able to, see historic places down there as well. I like going to the Fly across from the zoo and just being able to hang out down there. And that reminds me of home, like at times where I get homesick, or missing, Vicksburg simply because I'm not able to, even though it's 3 hours away, I'm not able to really go home like that. We have a place on our riverfront because the river runs through Vicksburg where we can go and we can sit on the river. So being able to do that with the guys, just being on campus in general, I like being around campus, just being in Uptown or going to City Park. I actually went to City Park a couple weeks ago to see the Christmas lights, and that's just one of the things I love, getting out and getting around and really exploring the city. I gotten to the point where I don't need a navigation to go anywhere in the city because I've become fully aware of everything that's down here. And, just this is one of the things about New Orleans, it gives to you what you give to it, and I just love this city.
That's awesome. I couldn't agree more, and that's why I'm back here and I've stayed here despite everything that's going on. I stick it out because there's something to it. And,
most definitely.
And with your tastes, they align with my kids' taste. I would love to hire you to be a babysitter, but you're too darn busy for that. All right, so okay, who besides Nick Anderson are you excited to see ball in 2022?
Besides Nick Anderson, I really want to say a couple guys. First off, Larry Brooks. Larry, he's my roommate. He's somebody who also, battled injuries this year. I'm ready to see him, have a healthy off season, a good recovery off season, and come in and play to his top standard next year. I'm ready to see Dorian. I'm always gonna root for Dorian to, play his best of football. Ready to see Tajay and Cam Carroll, that two-headed monster in the backfield. Ready to really see them, take over and dominate on the offensive side of the ball. I'm ready to see, like I said, Trey Togo get back off an injury and see him perform. See Michael, be able to perform, under, new offensive coordinator and going into his third year, just seeing that experience play out. Being able to see Jaden Kennedy come off a, phenomenal freshman year and be able to, ball for us on the defensive side of the ball off that year of experience, as well as, Darius Hodges, being able to see him do his thing, Adonis Freelo, Eric Hicks. Really just overall,
there's a bunch of guys.
Really just I can't keep it down to one person.
They're all you guys.
Like I love everybody on my team, and just to see those guys come in and play, and then the guys that haven't played, like Shaquem Lassiter, is somebody that I'm really excited to see him play, because these last couple of weeks, he actually he's gonna play corner and safety for us, but last year he was our Lamar Jackson on scout team offense, and just seeing his explosiveness with the ball in his hands, and then, seeing him be able to mature and, play at corner the last couple of practices, being able to, lock down one of our best receivers and Deuce Watts and stuff like that. So it's a lot of positive that I'm looking forward to next season. I'm just really ready to see all my teammates just ball out.
That's awesome, man. And Lassiter made some plays on special teams too, so that's a good name. I want to see that diamond.
Forced the fumble. Forced the fumble, South Florida. I should have recovered it. It slipped.
All right. So look, last question I have for you, because you've been very gracious with your time. When this is all said and done, what is it that you want Tulane fans to remember about Nick Anderson?
Just that overall, I was a guy that, really loved the university that I was at, and really just put into this program everything that I had in me. I was a man of strong faith, and just was blessed by God to be able to bless you guys with my talent on the field and with my diligence off the field. And I just want to be remembered for how I made people feel in this community, how I made people feel, how I made the fans feel watching me play and just getting to know me off the field. And that's just one of the things, like I said, that my mom really instilled in me growing up. She said a person may forget your name, they may forget your face, but they'll ultimately never forget how you made them feel. And looking back, as I enter my last year as being a Tulane football player, I just want to everybody that has ever seen me put on a uniform, a Green Wave uniform, to just say, I really can count on Nick Anderson. I really, he really brought me peace in him being a part of this program.
That's incredible. And sometimes you know when you're sitting next to greatness, this is certainly one of those times. And
I appreciate that.
I can't wait to watch whatever you do in the rest of your life, Nick
Yes,
Anderson.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And folks, thank you for joining us. And many thanks to our friends and hosts here at Bradley Schneller and Roof Fitness and Stack Coaching, and for everything they do for the Jimmy O Show. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much.